Pooh Shiesty's daddy been a rat since '09, and his son a mice since 2022.
Pooh Shiesty walked out of federal prison in October 2025 with a fresh start in front of him. New music on the way, money coming back in, fans waiting on his next move, and people saying he had another shot to take over the rap game. It looked like the comeback was already loading up fast, but just a few months later, everything crashed hard when federal agents showed up and arrested both him and his father. Then the court paperwork dropped, and what investigators claimed his dad said behind the scenes sent social media into full chaos. This whole thing wasn't some random argument that exploded overnight. According to the federal case, this situation was allegedly mapped out way ahead of time. Investigators claim it involved planning, coordination, people moving across different cities, and one setup that was never supposed to be a real business meeting in the first place. That's the part making everybody stop and stare right now. The internet isn't shocked just because Pooh Shiesty got arrested again. People are shocked because of how deep authorities claim this situation really goes. Now rewind everything back to January 10th, 2026, because that's where this entire story starts getting serious. 3 music industry figures reportedly flew into Dallas that day thinking they were handling regular business. Plane tickets booked, bags packed, schedules lined up like any normal industry trip. From their side, this was supposed to be a professional sit-down involving contract discussions and label business. In the music world, meetings like this happen non-stop every single day, especially when artists are trying to lock in deals or discuss money. One of the 3 men was listed in federal documents only as RD, but later reporting connected those initials to Radrick Delantic Davis, better known to the world as Gucci Mane, a rap heavyweight, a southern hip-hop icon, the same man who built 1017 Records into one of the most respected labels in the game from the ground up. Gucci Mane has a long history of spotting talent early, and one of the artists he famously backed was a young rapper from Memphis named Pooh Shiesty. Back when Pooh was still rising, Gucci reportedly saw major potential in him and gave him a huge platform through 1017 Records around 2021. That move changed everything for Pooh Shiesty fast. The record started buzzing, fans locked in heavy, and his name became powerful in rap culture. Even after his prison sentence, people still kept talking about him. His fan base never fully disappeared, and once he came home in October 2025, there was still real attention around his next chapter. A lot of people believed his comeback could actually work. The music industry loves redemption stories, especially when an artist already has a loyal audience waiting. Fans wanted new music, blogs were watching every move, and there was still serious curiosity about whether Pooh Shiesty could turn his second chance into something bigger than before. From the outside looking in, it seemed like he still had opportunities lined up and a real path forward. But according to investigators, while the public was focused on a comeback, something much darker was allegedly happening behind closed doors. Authorities claim the Dallas meeting wasn't really about contracts at all. They say the entire situation had another purpose from the beginning, and once those allegations hit the court files, the story instantly turned from a comeback headline into a federal case that now has the entire rap world talking nonstop. But behind the scenes, things reportedly weren't smooth at all for Pooh Shiesty. According to investigators, he was unhappy with his contract situation and wanted out of the deal badly. What started as a business dispute allegedly turned into something federal prosecutors are now calling one of the boldest organized robberies tied to the hip-hop world in recent years. That's why this case exploded online so fast, because the allegations go way beyond the normal industry fallout. That afternoon, the 3 men arrived at a recording studio off Dallas Parkway, expecting a regular business meeting. Nothing unusual, nothing that looked dangerous. The studio wasn't open yet, so they killed time the way most people would. They grabbed some liquor, came back, relaxed, and waited for the meeting to start. From their perspective, this was standard music business. Contracts, conversations, label talk, simple as that. They reportedly had no clue that within minutes, investigators say the entire situation would spiral into chaos. By around 3:43 p.m., authorities claim the meeting turned into a full ambush, and prosecutors are using that exact word for a reason. According to the federal complaint, while Gucci Mane and the others believed they were preparing for a professional sit-down, multiple people were already moving toward the studio with a completely different plan allegedly in motion. Investigators say this wasn't random and it wasn't sloppy. They claim everything had been coordinated ahead of time with serious precision. Some of the individuals reportedly traveled from Memphis all the way to Dallas just to be there. That detail alone has people stunned. because prosecutors say this operation involved planning across multiple cities.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this was disguised as a traditional business meeting inside a recording studio, but then it turned into an ambush.
Authorities claim nobody was making things up as they went along. They say every move had already been lined up beforehand. Federal prosecutors identified Pooh Shiesty, whose real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., as the alleged leader of the entire operation. According to investigators, he was the one who arranged the meeting in the first place. The person prosecutors accuse of setting the trap from the beginning. Court documents claim the situation escalated from frustration over business disagreements into an alleged armed setup involving several co-defendants inside the recording studio. That's the part making this case feel unreal to a lot of people online, because prosecutors are painting a picture of something far bigger than a heated argument gone wrong. But one detail shocked people even more than the robbery allegations themselves. Investigators claim Pooh Shiesty's own father was also involved from the start. Lontrell Williams Sr., known by some in rap circles as Mob Boss, was accused in the federal complaint of helping coordinate parts of the situation. Prosecutors allege he communicated with the studio owner earlier that day while helping confirm the meeting arrangements. Instead of trying to calm things down, authorities claim he was an active participant in the alleged plan.
Week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas.
Surveillance footage reportedly captured him outside the building before later entering around 3:28 p.m. And when prosecutors laid out the numbers connected to the case, people immediately understood why federal authorities were treating this so seriously. 9 individuals allegedly connected to one coordinated operation. That's why investigators argue this was no coincidence and no random confrontation. According to the prosecution, this allegedly involved planning, transportation, timing, and deliberate coordination tied to a violent takeover inside a music studio over a contract dispute. Once they were inside, prosecutors say the victims were split up right away. Gucci Mane was taken into the recording room, where investigators say he was with Pooh Shiesty, Pooh's father, and Big 30, whose real name is Rodney Wright Jr. The other 2 victims, listed in the complaint as MM and BP, were allegedly kept in the control room by the rest of the group. From that point on, the whole situation reportedly moved like everybody already knew their role.
Alleged Williams Jr. produced an AK-style pistol, forced one of the victims to sign a release from the recording contract at gunpoint.
According to the 32-page federal criminal complaint, Pooh Shiesty allegedly pulled contract termination papers out of a bag and told Gucci Mane to sign them. Gucci said no at first. He looked at the paperwork, pushed back, and argued against it. But prosecutors say that refusal changed the energy in the room fast.
The feds say the group robbed the victims of expensive jewelry and cash.
Was actually choked by one of the defendants to the point of near unconsciousness.
What was supposed to be a business conversation allegedly turned into something way more serious. Investigators claim Pooh Shiesty then pointed an AK-style pistol at Gucci Mane's head and told him to sign again. At that moment, prosecutors say Gucci signed the papers under pressure. What choice did he really have in that situation? Authorities allege there were armed people in the building, his associates were being held nearby, and the whole setup was already locked in tight. After Gucci signed, prosecutors say Pooh handed the paperwork to his own father for review. That detail had people online losing it, because investigators claimed his father didn't step in to stop anything. Instead, the complaint says he looked over the document and pointed out that it still needed a date. Then Pooh allegedly forced Gucci Mane to add the date too. Big 30 allegedly pulled out his phone next and recorded Gucci Mane saying on video that he was releasing Pooh Shiesty from the contract. Prosecutors say that statement was recorded while Gucci was under threat, making the whole thing look less like a heated moment and more like a planned step-by-step move. Pooh allegedly handled the weapon. His father checked the paperwork. Big 30 recorded the statement, and the rest of the group allegedly controlled the other victims in the next room.
Ringleader of the conspiracy, Lontrell Williams Jr., was on home confinement at the time of the offense, as alleged for a prior firearms conspiracy charge and conviction out of the Southern District of Florida. Electronic monitoring data placing Williams Jr. the offense location, which would put him in violation of his home detention conditions.
Then came the robbery claims, and that's where the story got even darker. Federal documents say items were taken from the victims, including Rolex watches, jewelry, cash, a Louis Vuitton bag with more watches inside, AirPods, wallets with Apple AirTags, a 1017 chain, earrings, and even Gucci Mane's wedding ring. One person claiming to have inside knowledge later said on a live stream that the earrings were physically removed from Gucci's ears. That detail alone made the allegations sound even more personal and extreme. Meanwhile, prosecutors say one of the victims in the control room, identified as MM, was physically attacked during the incident. The complaint alleges he was choked until he nearly lost consciousness. Federal filings reportedly included photos showing injuries, including scratches on his neck and marks on his wrist. That's why authorities are not treating this like simple contract drama. They're describing it as an alleged armed takeover inside a studio with paperwork, robbery, threats, and physical violence all happening in one wild chain of events. According to prosecutors, Big 30 allegedly used his own body to block the studio door so nobody could escape. Investigators say the victims were trapped inside while the situation kept getting more intense by the minute. Authorities claim nobody was leaving that building until Pooh Shiesty decided everything was finished. That detail alone made the allegation sound less like a random robbery and more like a tightly controlled operation. At one point, prosecutors allege Pooh Shiesty pressed a firearm against another victim's head while directing them toward an exit. Victims later told investigators they truly believed they might not make it out alive. Not just threatened, not just intimidated, they reportedly believed they could be executed inside that studio. That fear is a huge reason federal authorities treated this case so aggressively once the investigation started unfolding. The alleged armed takeover reportedly lasted until around 4:50 p.m. before the group left the scene. But according to investigators, the story didn't stop there. Authorities say that later the same night, some defendants were already posting online and showing off jewelry and watches believed to be tied to the robbery allegations. That part instantly caught attention across social media because prosecutors claim they acted like they were untouchable, like nobody was watching what happened in Dallas. But investigators were absolutely watching, and what came next may have become one of the wildest details in the entire federal case. Because there's one piece of evidence prosecutors highlighted that changed how people looked at everything. Not surveillance footage, not witness testimony, not fingerprints, an ankle monitor.
Monitoring data placing Williams Jr. at the offense location.
Oh my God. They basically said it had the ankle monitor on.
That's the detail nobody expected to end up front and center in a Department of Justice press release. According to federal authorities, Pooh Shiesty was allegedly wearing a GPS ankle monitor the entire time prosecutors say this incident happened. The same day investigators accuse him of organizing an armed takeover at a Dallas recording studio was also the same day federal location tracking allegedly placed him exactly where the incident unfolded, and that changes the conversation completely. In some criminal cases, defense teams can argue confusion, weak timelines, unreliable witnesses, or lack of direct evidence.
Car records confirming Williams Sr. rented a vehicle that was used by the social media posts by defendants displaying what appears to be stolen property just in the days following the offense.
Prosecutors are claiming this situation looked very different because the government already had a tracking device attached to him as part of his supervised release conditions. According to authorities, that monitor logged movement data around the clock and transmitted location information directly to federal systems in real time. When Pooh Shiesty came home from federal prison in October 2025 after serving part of a 63-month sentence, he reportedly wasn't fully free yet. Prosecutors say he moved directly into supervised release with strict conditions attached. One of those conditions included home confinement in Dallas, Texas. Authorities say the rules were simple and clearly explained from the start. Do not commit another federal offense and do not possess firearms. According to the federal complaint, investigators now believe both of those conditions were allegedly violated at the exact same time and in the exact same place, all while the ankle monitor was still attached to his leg. That's the part making people online shake their heads because prosecutors are basically arguing the government already had location evidence following every move connected to that afternoon. Federal officials publicly emphasized that point during press conferences. The United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas reportedly stated that Pooh Shiesty was on home confinement at the time of the alleged offense. Hearing those words out loud made the case hit even harder for people paying attention. because this wasn't somebody unfamiliar with the federal system. He had already been through prison before. He already knew how federal investigations work, how detailed prosecutors can get, and how quickly a career can unravel once the government starts building a case. When the Department of Justice finally unsealed the criminal complaint, prosecutors laid out the evidence during a press conference, and the very first detail they mentioned instantly shocked people online. The moment it was read out loud, clips started spreading everywhere because nobody could believe what they were hearing. According to federal authorities, the GPS ankle monitor strapped to Pooh Shiesty as part of his supervised release conditions allegedly placed him at the exact Dallas studio during the exact time prosecutors say the armed takeover happened. That detail hit social media like a bomb because investigators were basically saying the government's own tracking device connected him directly to the scene. And that's what made this case feel unreal to so many people watching it unfold. Prosecutors didn't need somebody secretly recording conversations. They didn't need an informant wearing wires. They didn't even need someone close to him to flip and hand over his location. According to authorities, the ankle monitor itself was already tracking his movements in real time the entire afternoon. When clips started circulating online of the U.S. attorney reading the evidence list out loud, people could not stop replaying one specific line. He had the ankle monitor on at the robbery. That sentence alone became one of the biggest talking points tied to the case, because this wasn't somebody unfamiliar with federal prison or federal investigations. Pooh Shiesty had already served time before. He already understood how serious federal cases can get and how aggressively prosecutors collect evidence. That's why so many people online were stunned by the allegations. Prosecutors are claiming someone who already experienced the federal system firsthand allegedly walked into a kidnapping and robbery situation while wearing a live government tracking device on his ankle. The internet immediately exploded with reactions because people could not believe that level of risk. But investigators say the ankle monitor was only the beginning. According to the complaint, authorities also gathered cell phone records and license plate reader data tied to several defendants. Prosecutors claim those records showed coordinated travel from Memphis, Tennessee to Dallas, Texas. They allegedly tracked phone movements, routes taken, tower connections, and vehicle activity across multiple locations, all with timestamps attached. Then came another major detail involving Pooh Shiesty's father. Prosecutors say Lontrell Williams Sr. rented the white Buick Enclave, allegedly used for the trip from Memphis to Dallas. According to investigators, his name appeared directly on a Hertz rental agreement connected to the vehicle. Federal authorities are treating that as evidence of planning ahead rather than someone randomly getting pulled into the situation later.
Greyhound bus records confirming the travel of multiple defendants from Dallas to Memphis the day after the offense.
And prosecutors didn't stop there. Investigators also reportedly recovered surveillance footage from multiple locations connected to the case. The recording studio itself had cameras running. A nearby Staples store reportedly had surveillance cameras as well. Authorities also say cameras captured activity at the hotel, where several defendants allegedly stayed after the incident. Federal investigators reviewed footage from all those locations, matching timestamps and movements as they continued building the case piece by piece. Investigators say latent fingerprints recovered from inside the studio matched at least 2 of the defendants. That means somebody touched something inside that crime scene and left behind physical evidence, not rumors, not street talk, actual forensic evidence tying specific people to a specific room. Then prosecutors pointed to something even wilder. According to the complaint, some of the stolen jewelry was allegedly posted on social media within hours of the incident. Same accounts, same names, same online audience watching it all happen. Screenshots of those posts were reportedly included as exhibits in the 32-page federal complaint, meaning prosecutors say the defendants basically helped build the case against themselves. And it did not stop there. Federal documents also mention Greyhound bus records showing travel from Dallas back to Memphis the morning after the robbery. Real tickets, real names, real routes that investigators could subpoena and line up with the timeline. Step by step, prosecutors claim this case came together because the evidence was sitting out in the open, almost like it was being handed to them. But once all those details hit the public, the conversation online shifted fast. People started asking the one question that always pops up in hip-hop cases: who talked? And in the streets, that question can turn into a whole different kind of storm.
Sound like Gucci cooperated. You sound like the victim. Gucci was a victim and gave his testimony.
According to investigators, Gucci Mane listed as one of the main victims identified Pooh Shiesty, Pooh's father, and Big 30 by name, appearance, and verified Instagram accounts. Legally, that is a victim helping investigators after a crime was allegedly committed against him. That is what happens when someone says they were threatened, robbed, and had personal items taken, including a wedding ring. But online, people do not always see things through a courtroom lens. They see street rules, rap politics, loyalty, and reputation. Gucci Mane reportedly addressed the speculation himself on social media, denying that he cooperated while making it clear he still stood on the same energy people have known him for. And anybody familiar with Gucci's history knows he does not play around when people question his name. That is what makes the whole situation so messy. Pooh Shiesty had come home with the spotlight waiting on him. He dropped music. People listened. The numbers were moving. Fans were hyped. The comeback story was already forming right in front of everybody. People who doubted the first day out buzz had to watch him prove there was still major interest around his name. He had attention. He had motion. He had a lane wide open. But none of that matters if the mindset does not change. You can have money, fame, fans, and second chances lined up, but if the same choices keep coming back around, nothing stays solid for long. Then came the rat papers conversation, and that part pushed the drama into a whole new lane. The morning after the arrests, April 2nd, 2026, while people were still trying to understand how Pooh Shiesty ended up back in federal custody with his own father beside him, Whack 100 stepped into the middle of it and changed the entire conversation.
Man, sometimes some of you Negroes do not deserve money and fame.
Came home, bro, and did NBA YoungBoy numbers. Song he put out, they said he was gonna flop. They went to the top. He had all the cars, the lifestyle, everything he dreamed of having. But he didn't change his mind. I don't went and did some stupid shit. Caused him to go.
Whack called it a DJ Academics live stream while more than 15,000 people were watching. He claimed he had been sitting on certain paperwork for around 18 months and had been waiting for the right moment to bring it out. And with Pooh Shiesty and his father now both facing serious federal charges, Whack said that moment had finally arrived. Then, he sent documents to Academics live on air for everybody to see. According to Whack, the paperwork was a federal memorandum of plea agreement dated April 15, 2009. He claimed it showed that Lontrell Williams Sr., also known as Mob Boss and Pooh Shiesty's father, had agreed to provide substantial assistance to the federal government in exchange for a reduced sentence under U.S. Sentencing Guidelines 5K1.1. And in court language, that might sound technical.
Shiesty's daddy been a rat since '09, and his son a mice since 2022.
But in street language, people heard one thing immediately: cooperation. That word alone was enough to set the internet on fire. Because once paperwork like that gets attached to somebody's name in hip-hop circles, the conversation stops being just about charges and evidence. It becomes about reputation, loyalty, and the real cost of choices made years before. Whack said it straight up, with no soft words and no dancing around it. He claimed Pooh Shiesty's father allegedly cooperated with the federal government back in 2009, when Pooh was only around 8 or 9 years old. That would mean, if Whack's claims are accurate, Pooh grew up in a house where his own father had a 5K19 cooperation deal tied to a federal case. Then Whack pushed the claim even further and aimed it right at Pooh himself.
Gucci came home and they motivated me too because I took notes from him, switched it up, how he toned up, got fit, got his mind healthy, took notes in that area.
Shiesty is top 10 bag fumblers in the rap game. Every time this man gets a chance, he fumbles the bag.
According to Whack, Pooh had allegedly been cooperating since 2022, going back to his federal firearms conspiracy case in the Southern District of Florida. That was the case where Pooh pleaded guilty to one count, had several heavier counts dropped, and received less time than prosecutors originally wanted. Whack used that outcome to raise questions, and once he said it live, the internet grabbed it instantly. Academics reportedly pulled up federal case files during the live stream and said the documents looked legit. Those two words were enough to make the clips explode across Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, and everywhere else. Everybody had something to say. Some people believed Whack right away, while others said paperwork talk gets dangerous when nobody has confirmed the full picture. And this is where things have to slow down, because verified facts and viral claims can get mixed together real fast. WAC 100 has made similar accusations before, going back to at least February 2022. So this was not the first time he had put these claims out there. Every time the accusations came up, Pooh Shiesty's attorney, Bradford Cohen, pushed back hard and publicly denied them. Cohen called the claims 100% fake news, idiotic, and a straight mistruth. His position has stayed the same the whole time. According to him, Pooh Shiesty did not give up anyone, did not sign a cooperation agreement, did not sit for proffer sessions, and did not exchange information with federal prosecutors. The defense story in the 2021 firearms case was that the alleged victims tried to rob Pooh and his people first, and that is why weapons became part of the situation. Cohen has argued that Pooh's 63-month sentence came from strong legal work and forensic evidence, not from cooperation. And in January 2026, just weeks before the Dallas studio incident allegedly happened, Pooh posted his own court paperwork on Instagram and denied working with the government himself. He brought up Omerta, the code of silence, and made it clear he wanted the public to believe he stood on that rule. As of April 3, 2026, no major outlet, including AP, Rolling Stone, or XXL, had independently verified WAC 100's 2009 paperwork claims. There is a documented 2009 Tennessee state-level case involving a Lontrell Williams connected to Mob Ties Records, but that state case does not mention any federal cooperation or 5K11 deal. Federal 5K11 records can also be sealed, which makes the whole thing harder for the public to confirm. So right now, those claims remain allegations, loud allegations, viral allegations, allegations that hit the hip-hop world like a grenade. But still, they are not fully verified, and even with all of that uncertainty, there is one part of this story that feels almost impossible to ignore. When Pooh Shiesty came home from federal prison in October 2025 and sat down for his first major XXL interview, he talked about Gucci Mane with real respect. He spoke about watching Gucci come home from prison and rebuild himself piece by piece. Gucci got focused, got disciplined, got healthy, stayed out of trouble, and turned himself into an example of what a real comeback can look like. Pooh described Gucci as someone who woke up inside prison and came out changed for real. He made it sound like Gucci's transformation had planted something in him too. Like he was ready to move smarter, stay locked in, and make his second chance count. He talked as if the prison experience had changed him deeply, and that this new mindset was going to stick. That is what makes the Dallas allegations hit so hard. Pooh sat there and described Gucci Mane as a blueprint, a model, a living example of how a man can leave prison and actually become better. He made it sound like he had studied Gucci's path and wanted to follow it. Then, within months of that interview, prosecutors say Pooh allegedly walked into a Dallas recording studio, pulled an AK-style pistol, and pointed it at the head of the same man he had just praised, Gucci Mane, the man he said inspired him, the man he claimed taught him something about growth, the same man whose comeback story he said pushed him to think differently. That twist is why this case feels bigger than just charges on paper. It feels like a full-circle betrayal playing out in front of the entire rap world. A gun pointed at Gucci Mane's face inside a recording studio over a contract dispute. That sounds like something straight out of a movie script, except prosecutors say this happened in real life. The whole story feels almost unbelievable because every detail keeps getting more intense than the last. But now the focus shifts to what happens next, because as of April 3rd, 2026, this federal case is still only getting started. The 32-page criminal complaint was filed on March 30 and officially unsealed on April 2. Right now, no trial date has been announced, no pleas have been entered, and every defendant is still legally presumed innocent. That part matters. But at the same time, the amount of evidence listed by prosecutors is what has everybody paying attention so closely. According to the complaint, investigators are working with GPS ankle monitor data, cell phone records, license plate reader information, rental car paperwork tied to Pooh Shiesty's father, surveillance footage from multiple locations, fingerprints recovered inside the studio, social media posts allegedly showing stolen jewelry, Greyhound bus records, and victim identifications from people who already personally knew the defendants by face, name, and verified Instagram accounts. Federal officials also made it clear how serious the charges are. U.S. Attorney Ryan Raybould reportedly stated during the April 2 press conference that each defendant could face up to life in prison under federal kidnapping laws. Life in prison. And prosecutors say Pooh Shiesty's legal situation becomes even heavier because the alleged incident happened while he was still on supervised release from a previous federal conviction. That detail matters a lot in federal court because judges often look closely at whether someone changed after already serving time. Prosecutors are basically arguing that this alleged situation happened while he was still under federal monitor, still under conditions, and still being tracked by the government. That can carry major weight during sentencing if convictions ever happen. Then came the FBI raid in Cordova, Tennessee, and that pushed the story into another level entirely. According to reports, federal agents arrived around 6 o'clock in the morning on April 1, 2026. Authorities allegedly used flashbangs while entering the home and spent hours searching the property. Investigators reportedly removed computer equipment, evidence bags, and searched vehicles parked inside the garage. Whatever agents believed was connected to the case, prosecutors now likely have it secured inside a federal evidence room in the Northern District of Texas. And sitting at the center of all this are a father and son, both in custody, both charged and both potentially facing the possibility of spending decades or even the rest of their lives behind bars. Prosecutors accuse the father of helping arrange transportation, helping book the studio session, standing inside the recording room, and reviewing paperwork investigators claim Gucci Mane was forced to sign under threat. Now think about the timeline, one more time, because this is the part people cannot stop talking about. Pooh Shiesty was released from prison in October 2025. His supervised release reportedly was scheduled to end on April 11, 2026. He was only months away from being fully free. No ankle monitor, no check-ins, no federal restrictions hanging over his head anymore. Just freedom, music, money, and fans ready to support his comeback. All prosecutors say he had to do was stay patient. Instead, authorities allege he became involved in one of the most heavily documented federal kidnapping cases tied to the rap world in years, and allegedly brought his own father into it too. That's the part turning this story into a full tragedy for a lot of people watching from the outside. Now the rest of this battle moves into federal courtrooms in Dallas, where cases this large can drag on for months or even years, with multiple defendants, multiple states involved, and this amount of evidence being discussed publicly. The process is expected to move slowly. But many people believe the direction of this entire case changed the second that ankle monitor allegedly placed him at the studio on January 10th, 2026. The only real question left now is how this all ends. If you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives and breaking stories like this. And click one of the videos on your screen right now to keep watching.